Welcome to the Zentangle Project Pack series. This lesson is part of Project Pack 18. My name is Martha.
My name is Molly.
Hi, Molly.
Hi. 18 is your favorite number.
It is my favorite number. I've been looking forward to this one for a while. We will be using the materials from our Project Pack number 18 envelopes. See here. Project packs are available at Zentangle.com and from some of our certified Zentangle teachers. We highly recommend watching the Project Pack number 18 introduction video first before starting the lessons, especially with this one as we are working with new and exciting exploratory materials. And we do share a lot of useful information about these materials and tips and techniques on how to use them.
We are more than thrilled to be using this project pack to introduce a new surface to tangle on. We are calling the newest member of the Zentangle tile family translucency.
Oh, it's so romantic,
isn't
it?
Right? It's very exciting. All the lessons in this series play with how tangles can play with light and shadow and how this particular service allows both tangles and light to pass through in fun and unexpected ways. As always, if you don't have these new tiles, we encourage you to follow along with whatever surface you have at home and with whatever tools you have at home, and you will have different and unexpected results as well. But as usual, we really encourage you to join us.
It's really just about tangling together.
It's about tangling. Hey, Martha, can you see clearly now that
I
the
can
rain
see clearly
is gone?
now. Oh my gosh, not only is number 18 my favorite number, but that is a quote from one of my favorite songs.
I love it. I love it. So let's get going. Right?
All right, here we go.
So as we said earlier, the materials are really talked about in depth in the introductory video, so we won't be talking about them too much here except as we are tangling, but we do have all the materials from the Project Pack number 18 envelopes, and we have a beautiful new translucency tile.
Yes.
Super pumped about
here are
it.
all my tiles that I have from my tools from our envelope. And I'm going to put all of them aside except this Micron 01 pen here. Now, not to be confused, I'm going to take the cover off. This one is a 10. This one has a big fat tip.
It's actually really easy to confuse them.
Yeah. They're similar. So
yeah, take a look. You want the thin one.
Put all those aside.
Another thing I want you all to have with you as we do this lesson, and this is the first lesson in the series, so we're getting warmed up. This is the first time you've tried anything with these new materials, and we have found these materials are definitely exploratory, and there's some funkiness, like a little funkiness with the pens and it's something you have to work through when you're kind of playing with mixed media. But what I want you all to have is some sort of like a scratch piece of paper, like copy paper or a pad. Another piece of paper that you can kind of clean your pens off with as we're working, because that is going to become something you're going to want to do. So just like a little piece of paper that you can kind of work the pens out if they get a little gucked up, shall we say. So
exactly.
That's something you're going to want to have on the side. And also, as we're working, please feel free to watch the videos through before you go on your own tiles so you kind of become familiar with what we're about to do.
All right. So we have this beautiful, let's just take a minute to touch it and feel it and appreciate it in before we get started, because it's really this incredible, beautiful, smooth surface, and it loves to play with these pens. It really is going to be fun.
And we always really encourage folks to take a moment before we start any of our tangling, whether it's a quick just couple of deep breaths or a moment to remember what it is you're grateful for in that moment. And it's so helpful to your practice and yourself and just respectful to what you're doing. So we do encourage all of you to just pause, maybe shut your eyes and do whatever it is you need to do before you start tangling.
All right. So I have my black 01 pen here. And I'm going to start without borders, without a string, and I'm going to draw a big, beautiful, bold spiral right in the middle of this tile. And again, don't be afraid. It's a beautiful surface, and it really loves working with these pens. So feel free to watch me if you're looking for to judge your size and everything. just starting towards the middle and creating this beautiful, pretty large spiral shape.
Nice and open.
Yeah, nice and open.
That's beautiful.
And one thing that's really, really unique about this tangling experience is we're going to be working on both sides of the tile. You'll notice here that there is a little logo. So I started out on the front, the top, you can call it whatever you like. They really are a very similar surface. It's just a matter of, having an awareness of where that little square is and how you want to look for it or not. And you'll see it here on the back. It's still noticeable, very subtle. And so what I'm going to do on the flip side now is actually just trace over the spiral that I just created on the other side. And very deliberately and slowly, I'm going to trace over. And, I'm doing my best to stay along the lines.
So cool that you can draw on both sides.
It really is.
Can't even wait. We've been having a little bit too much fun.
See? Now you don't even know which was the front and which was the back. But we're still on the back right now. So one thing that I was thinking of doing before we get started to go back on the front is just kind of noticing where there's tiny little misses in my lines. I'm actually going to kind of weight those spaces, resculpting, and it just adds a little bit of interest to my spiral.
We call this adding love.
Yeah. Just small little touches of extra ink that actually just add a lot of interest. And I actually might bring that spiral a little closer. It's sort of like a giant weighted printemps, if you will. And now I'm going to bring it back to the front, kind of marry those two images, front and back. All right, so this is our primary working surface. And our next step here is to be dividing this spiral into squarish type fragment spaces that we're going to fill with a really cool and funky fragment. And before I do that, or as I begin doing that, it's hard to make a square space in this tiny little circular area there. So I kind of start somewhere in the middle just to give myself a place to work from. And a good way of doing this so that we have nice equally radiating lines is to always work off this center point. So for instance, I'm looking at this center and I'm going to draw a pair of parallel lines and turn my tile and opposite that again my parallel lines. And so I'm going to go around the spiral, breaking up the fragment, always using that center point as a reference. And turning my tile as I work around.
I love spirals. We thought it'd be fun to start with a spiral because I feel like there's so much, I don't know, I get...
Comfort?
Yeah, I think so.
And also getting used to using this new surface. We want to work with something that has some familiarity and always using that center point as a reference as I turn the tile, knowing that none of these spaces are going to be perfect squares.
And we mentioned this into the intro video, but it's good to keep reminding you that because this surface is different than paper, it has a little plasticity to it, and the pen tends to sort of hang out on the surface for a little bit and be a little wet. So just take your time with it and try your best not to rub your hands over the surface while it's fresh. And make sure it's completely dry, so we don't want you smudging it.
So I'm going back in and working my way towards the center now.
And I guess if you do smudge it, then that's so 2K too.
All right.
One more there. One tiny one.
Can do.
Yeah, I like when it gets...
Yes. See, it already has this sort of life and whimsy because it's hand-drawn, because it's not perfect. I feel like it already has a little bit of life to it, don't you think?
Super cool. I love it.
All right, now Molly's going to start us off with this awesome new fragment. All right, so I love working with spirals like this because you can play with so many different fragments inside them. And Martha and I have been sort of slightly obsessed with this one fragment lately. It's kind of fun. So I feel like we keep coming back to it because it's just what we do. When you find something you like, you just, kind of work with it. So I'm going to start in the middle. I don't know why I always do that with spirals, and then I work in either direction. But what I invite you to do now is sort of focus in on one square, one space, and just allow yourself to look at that space to add your first fragment. And the way this fragment goes, and of course I encourage you to just watch me for a minute, it's kind of funky. There's no exactness to it. But I'm going to start in one corner, this upper left-hand corner, and I'm going to start by creating a series of very close together lines that are like sort of diagonal, and I'm going to do them so they come maybe like a third of the way. And when I get to about a third of the way, I'm going to put a nice big orb sitting on that surface there. And if you need to kind of sculpt it for a minute, that's fine. And then I want you to imagine, I don't know why this is the vision that keeps coming to me whenever I talk about this fragment. I think of the Little Prince, the story of the Little Prince, when he makes this one drawing that's encapsulated in another drawing. And if you're familiar with the story, this might make sense to you. So I'm going to take this line and I'm going to sort of encapsulate this orb. And then continue on, and it creates these little spaces that I'm going to ink in. I think about ways to draw and how if I did this differently, I would get, I could have said, oh, put an orb in between these lines, but your results would be different. And then I'm just auraing that encapsulated stroke. So it almost looks like this orb is sort of stuck in there. And it's like a funky little...
He's trying to get out.
A little bit, yeah, maybe. I don't know. He's not getting out. He's stuck there. All right, let's try it again and see what happens. I'm going to move to this other space and do exactly the same thing. I'm going to start creating these sort of diagonal lines. And then once you get about the third, I'm going to put a nice big orb in the middle. And then I'm going to sort of let it get stuck in this space. And then I'm going to take my time inking in
I'm going to slowly aura. There we go. Remembering to breathe. Take your time. So if I were to have drawn the orb first, I would have gotten a different result. So it's all about like kind of experimenting with like subtle differences. Nice light touch with any surface, but specifically this surface, as the ink kind of just sits right up on the surface. It's nice. And you keep that pen nice and sharp. Remember to loosen your grip on your pen. Take your time. I like to ink in as I go. Some people like to go back afterwards, but I enjoy kind of breaking it up. Really focusing in on those ink spaces and getting it really dark to make that contrast. Some of these spaces, as you get towards the center, you have to kind of like make up some system of where you want to start. I usually think about where I want the orb to end up, and then I figure it out from there.
I think you can start to see how these large open spaces are perfect for seeing through to the other side.
I know.
I wonder what might be there on the other side.
And when you get to the middle of these orbs, you really want them to look kind of smushed. That's sort of the point, so don't worry about they're kind of swallowing up. You want to fill in some of these, Martha?
Sure. I love how this is coming together, and it's only just the beginning. So again, just starting from that top layer, top corner, top left corner.
It's kind of like a little subtle, not quite a straight line, right? It's like sort of this little subtle
And then
curve.
This gorgeous, big, beautiful orb.
And they do kind of gradually change size as you work, as the fragmented space itself changes size.
Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful example of like one defining stroke, and then you don't have to worry about what your next stroke will look like. You just have to aura. With each of these squares getting larger, the orb can grow a little larger as well.
I like to always remind myself about the process when I'm working on anything creative, or my Zentangle works especially, is that you're really like putting things down and chipping away at this beautiful piece of artwork, but it goes through funky stages. You know, in the beginning it's a little raw.
Well, that's sort of this trust layer that we talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we know what this is going to look like, but you guys don't.
Well, we don't know exactly. We have a little bit of an idea.
Well, we have an idea.
Yeah. But trust is a good word to use, sort of trusting in yourself and the process. And in this case, you're trusting in us and the class and letting us guide you. And that's pretty special too. But I believe in all of you. I actually get so excited after we do these, each class, because my favorite part is when I go and see pictures of what people are creating. It's like the best thing ever. So if you're ever hesitating to take a picture and share it with people, please don't, because that's my favorite part. I love how unique each one is. And
also, you're hearing something that we're saying, and sometimes we don't even know how it comes across. So you'll hear something, and you'll process it in a way that we hadn't imagined, and teach us something about this process.
These are so fun to sort of look at as you go along, too. When we're working on Zentangle work, we often say to hold your tile arm's length away and turn it this way and that. And with these new translucency tiles, there's a whole other layer to that process when you hold this tile out in front of you.
And
perhaps
up to the light.
Yeah, towards the window. It changes so much. So I encourage you to kind of check it out from time to time to see how the light's coming through and how it's changing things. And as we said earlier, this tile can easily be done on a regular tile or paper or whatever it is you have. So hopefully you're all joining along with us no matter what you have in front of you.
Perhaps your spiral is smaller than ours, or maybe it's bigger and covers more of the tile.
Falling off the tile, perhaps, yeah. I think if we had wanted to take more time, it's fun to make it spill, but I kind of like our cute little spiral here.
All right, so I'm going to put my pen away now, and for now, because you never know what's going to happen later. And I'm going to go inside of your tool pouch. You got two different chalk pastel pencils, beautiful shades. And so I'm going to ask you choose one of them.
And yours might be different than Martha's. Actually, these are, everybody has different ones.
Yeah,
so you might not have the same ones.
Orange and ultramarine. And I'm going to play with the ultramarine right now.
I think there's like 10 different colors
that
are out there. Might even more.
Any color will work. Any color will work. So right now what I'm going to do is use this chalk pencil to add some enhancing color. And I'm going to be working my way around the spiral using the tip of the pencil to really focus on where this color is going to go. So I'm holding it kind of in my hand like this so that I can get a really nice angle on it.
Yeah, I mean, the point is that you don't want to have a sharp, you don't want to just dig into the paper.
You don't want to point into the paper. You want an edge to follow along.
Nice soft.
So I'm going to add color all around the inside of the spiral. And I kind of started not quite at the tip. Here, let's get this.
And this pastel goes on like butter, so it's not too. You just need a little, and it's beautiful color.
I'm doing purposeful, but not too heavy. Kind of spiraling it, kind of urging it into this tile along the inside of that original spiral line.
Yep, right to the edge. It's gorgeous.
And I'm laying it all down first, and then I will work with my tortillon. You'll notice you have 4 tortillons in your your tool pouch, which is very lovely. One for everything, one for each color, one for the white charcoal pencil, and one, of course, for the graphite. So as long as you can keep those.
And you'll notice it does get a little dusty upon the surface, and you can blow that off in a minute.
Yeah. So I think this is my designated ultramarine. And I'm, as if, just like we do with our graphite, I'm just using this to reinforce what we just put down. And you see, there are some little bits of color that stay on the surface, and you can just, what do mommies say, foof it away.
Foof it.
Just foof it. And, you know, I'm putting down this much color, but, you know, as we start layering with other tools, you can always decide to go back and add something more of one of the elements.
And she's being careful to keep it pretty isolated to one.
It's the inner edge of the spiral.
Maybe leaving the center and leaving the other side.
Yeah, I'm trying not to touch the orbs.
A little bit's okay.
But you'll notice that this surface is really, really nice to
Oh my goodness, the chalk
work
pencils
with.
love
And the graphite. Oh boy, wait till you try the graphite.
Yeah.
It's so fun. So that's just getting started there. Molly's going to come and add another layer.
Yeah.
This blue is very pretty, but I know that all the colors are actually pretty interesting because I was working on with an orange one earlier and a red one, and they all have such unique sort of, it's that rich pigment that comes out in these pastel chalk pencils. So I do enjoy them, and I'm not sure if you've pulled it up to the window yet just to see how the color comes through. It's pretty almost like stained glass. I am going to take my graphite pencil here and hit the other side, just as Martha did with the pencil on its side, using sort of that, a softer edge to the pencil and then the point as my guide. I am putting down a pretty heavy bit here. You can kind of see right along the edge. You know, turning your tile as you work. I tend to do a lot of penciling on my tiles, and I do notice that if I work these translucent tiles a lot with the pencil that I had to flatten it back out afterwards, like under a book, because it wanted to curl up a little bit, but it was worth it. Worth all the graphite. And just going back with my tortillon that I've kind of designated for my graphite, and as you can see, the graphite just loves it, like blends right into the surface. Different surface, right? Kind of awesome. Trying to leave that center part on, just to leave a natural highlight in the middle. How's that look, Martha?
I actually love it. I really do. And
blue is
depending on how you're looking at it, if you're looking at it from where I'm sitting, that graphite is super shimmery.
Right.
And
I'm not sure how it looks under the camera.
And then
you just can kind of get
when you start to hold it up to get light here and there, or even look at it from the other side, it really has a variety of tonal.
Oh yeah, you can already see it a little bit on the other side.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, so I am going to start adding another little fun layer here. And I think we all had like a little scratch piece of paper here. I'm going to, for this part, I really want to have it nearby. I'm now using my Jelly Roll White. And as we said in the intro video, the Jelly Roll White was so worth it to include in this pack because it has really cool results. It can be very finicky on this paper, we realized. So we kind of went back and forth and said, oh, people are going to have different results. But I think when you work with it, you'll learn too that if you kind of play around with it, you can get what you want out of it. So I am going to be putting some tiny dots here, and what I found is the dots are very easy to work with on this surface. And I think maybe I'll start from one side so that I can, actually, you know what, I'll start in the middle, that way I don't drag my hand over it. That's probably the best bet here. So
in these little double bars that Martha put down, I'm going to put a series of little dots. And sometimes it does take a minute to get your pen rolling, so I'm kind of getting it on the, there we go. Once you get your pen going, just going to put them right down that double bar. And like I said, it can take a minute to get your pen going. So you can just get it moving on the other paper. And then I'm just kind of dancing on the surface. Each dot kind of letting the ink flow out. I tend to have my pen at a little more of an upright position. With the jelly roll, I feel like it lets the ink flow a little better. And once you get kind of going with these dots, they do move along quite nicely. But if you find yourself, the pens start to skip, just kind of swirl it around on the other paper. Get it moving. And then carry back on. As we said before, the ink definitely takes a minute to dry. So don't let your hand kind of settle over it. All about patience here. It's easy to kind of want to jump ahead, but sometimes you just need a little time. Let things set. The white is fun on here.
It's a wonderful balance to the heaviness of the color and the ink and graphite, and I have this light, fanciful, lacy dot. It's beautiful.
Again, just having that piece of paper next to you to kind of let the pen kind of get going again. Oh, that's fun.
Oh, it's so sweet.
So sweet, right? So I'm going to let that dry completely, and it just takes a minute. You can kind of see it. Once your jelly roll is completely dry, completely, so don't rush into this. I waited a minute. I turned the camera off and I waited a few minutes. I like to just kind of add a little bit of graphite over these ones that are right close to the edge, just to get the shadow effect. Not too much. Let's see. Just to get my spiral back. It's all these little subtle details you add that bring dimension and depth. Very subtle. Coming along quite nicely, Martha. I do like it.
Just see how we do call this adding love. She's just touching these different spaces just to make it all come together. With these little touches, revisiting a line, visiting a stroke.
So I am going to now go back with this black 01 pen. It's kind of this fun back and forth, layering the different materials on this tile. And we've sort of lost that original spiral that we put down a little while ago. And with my pen, I'm actually going to retrace the whole thing again, just really defining it, just adding another whole layer of ink. And you'll see as the ink goes over the other things that you've put down, the graphite, and perhaps it touches some of the chalk, it kind of spreads a little, and I'm going nice and slow.
It kind of just redefines it. You get this like nice dark, cleans it up.
And, you know, take your time, retrace that original spiral. I'm actually going over it a few times. Each time I turn my tile, I kind of retrace what I just did. Giving that opportunity to appreciate a previous line drawn. Watching the back of your hand, because remember, all of the things we lay down take a little bit longer to fully absorb into the surface.
It's such a little detail, but it actually makes a huge difference when you look at the finished product.
And if you had done it to begin with, it would have gotten all covered up already anyway. It's just adding that layer. It's a layer on top. Usually we always finish with a pencil, but this is kind of a different concept. But wait, there's more. Another thing you can do is just sort of add a little inked in detail.
I do love that.
Right at the end, where each one of those separation columns is. Just a little, as if it's trying to poke its way out, and you'll see it more in the silhouette.
It's just adding like a little hump.
Yeah.
Nice detail. Continuing to be careful of, any wet ink. I keep saying it over and over again because it's kind of easy, and I, especially with the gel inks, kind of smeared some stuff a few times. And I made something cool out of it, so
yeah.
There's that.
And you guys have kind of bunches of tiles in this kit that you're going to be able to experiment with, and just a little rounded corner here. So I just did that around the outer edge.
Nice. Oh, I love that.
And maybe just kind of re-looking at this on the back here, if there's any other areas that you want to add a small amount of ink to.
And we're just playing around with this very simple spiral on one side, kind of this.
I might cap it off here.
But it might be that you discover a way to put more on the other side.
Yeah. Possibilities are...
I love all the weighting.
Yeah, so you can see how this is pretty fun. Seems kind of silly, but it's just this neat little... And you'll have different opportunities on your tile.
It makes it look much more deliberate. I love it. Like as if you put it down with a paintbrush.
Exactly. It's kind of sweet.
Yeah.
So I think there might be one more crowning glory to add.
This is definitely like frosting.
Now we're in sprinkles.
Yes.
So there's one more tool that we haven't really used, and that is the these colored beautiful jelly rolls called
Silver
Shadow.
And what's cool about these pens is it's a gel ink that has color in it, and it also has this metallic ink in it. So when you first put down the ink, all of the metallic parts and the colored parts are together, but when it dries, the silver metallic parts rise to the surface and the colored pigments then fall below, and so you get kind of this cool effect. And with the clear tiles, you will see
it's
like
especially noticeable on the flip side.
Very cool.
Yes.
So just a little like food for thought. The pens are super juicy. So you wanna,
fun.
and they take a while to dry. So just immediately remind yourself that these aren't drying for like an hour, maybe. I don't know. Probably sooner than that, but give yourself an hour.
And you saw that I opened up my pen. It's a brand new pen. You want to get it rolling just because it's a jelly roll like any other. But once it's going, it has quite a bit of ink flow. So I recommend starting with, I'm going to start with one of these larger orbs and start in the center, and I'm kind of just laying it down in a circular motion, and I'm going to go almost to the edge. And trust me, that's actually all you need. It starts to fill in the space.
It leaves
kind of on its own, and it's almost like a little
cool aura.
Yeah. So work with the larger ones first. I've got this pretty little purple color. You might have something else. And what you see now is definitely not the finished result, so it's going to take 10-15 minutes for the full ink to dry and kind of reveal its wonderfulness.
And these are the silver shadow. They also come in gold shadow. Is so beautiful. Like I said, it adds this nice metallicness on the surface, but the metallic can get knocked off. So if you touch it before it's dry, so you want to make sure you let it be. And if it does, it kind of looks like antiqued or something. So that's cool too.
Yeah. I mean, you can see how much gel ink comes out. It's like so luscious.
It's a really different experience than the white. So that's good to know too, that the ink comes out so much faster and differently.
And you can already see the first one that I put down is starting to get darker because that silver is separating out.
And we just like to share kind of, little fun little tools with you. It doesn't mean that like this has to be your favorite tool, but it is a fun accent piece, which is exactly what we're using it for. And because of the dry time, it is the very last thing we're doing. So we won't touch this tile after this. So if there's anything you want to do on your tile, you want to make sure you do it before you add the
It does work shadow quite nicely on top of other things. It's going on top of the chalk pencil right now very easily. That last little cute one right there.
That's awesome. Wow.
I know, this is amazing, isn't it? So actually, we turned the camera off and we did let this dry for about 20 minutes, and hope you can see all the different kind of fun elements that this pen and the graphite and all how it plays.
The bits of silver rising to the surface.
And the little sweet little white dots kind of hold everything together. And looking at the other side, you can see I can kind of get you to see through the tile here. But the possibilities are, you can take so much further, tangling on the other side, adding different layers, different patterns and strokes behind.
These are two other tiles that we use the same sort of process playing around with to get started. And as you can see, this is just the beginning, but here is the same, working through the same process with the pink. See how that comes through. And I love the simple spiral on the other side. Here's working, this actually has a brown pen, just playing around with
what comes through? What do you see? What do you see when you look through the other side?
Right.
Maybe we all see something different.
Oh. But it's clear, Martha, that something great is going to happen.
Well, it's going to be A bright, sunshiny day. That's all I know.
So I love it. I love it. Nice work. Thanks for
All right, this
tangling
is
along
good.
with us.
Really fun. So we're excited to dig into some more projects
Yay.
throughout this project pack, and we are so excited that you joined us. Thank you so much.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.